Now, Syria is a big issue because we're at war. And we're about to go to war in a more significant way, if the president's to be believed, over these alleged chemical attacks. It looks like the Syrian regime used chemical weapons again. So how did this all begin? It all began with the Obama administration and Libya. The collapse of Libya gave fuel to the fire in Syria. How do we know this? Because we have the documents. Judicial Watch found in 2000, that's 3 years ago now, May 10th, 2015, or May 18th, 2015. We found the documents from the Defense Department showing two things. The Obama administration knew arms were going from Benghazi to Syria. And the DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency, also was warning about the rise of ISIS and the coming war in Syria as well, and noted that the West was supporting terrorists in the internal battles in Syria. It's just incredible stuff. And I encourage you to go to our website and get it. I'm assuming we can link, I tweeted about it earlier this week, but we'll provide a link to the story here. And I encourage you to look at the documents, because the documents are killer here. This is what they look like. They don't black things out because it looks bad now, so they just white them out. But these are heavily redacted documents from the Department of Defense that show what I said they show. And I'm going to quote them for you. Weapons from the former military stockpiles were shipped from the port of Benghazi, Libya, to the port of Banias and the port of Borja Islam, Syria. They were shipped during late August 2012. Hey, that was just 1 month before the terrorist attack in Benghazi. And you know, they just weren't just vaguely aware of these arms shipments. The DIA document talked about the types: sniper rifles, RPGs, and 125 millimeter and 155 millimeter howitzer missiles. The numbers for each weapon: 500 sniper rifles, 100 RPG launchers, and 300 total rounds, and approximately 400 howitzers. So I tell you, if you know the number of missiles and bullets going out, or the number of missiles and weapons going out, you're in a position to stop it. The document's vague as to whether that was actually going on under U.S. auspices. But isn't that interesting? So you had the Benghazi being a way station for arms shipments to Syria. Now, who were they helping? It looks like they were helping the opposition in Syria, which was driven by Al-Qaeda and other extremist Muslim groups, according to the document, that were supported by the West, i.e. the United States. AQI, Al-Qaeda Iraq, are the major forces, the Muslim Brotherhood, another terrorist front group, major forces driving the insurgency in Syria. And the consequences included the grave danger of the rise of ISIS. And again, all of this is connected in Benghazi because these documents came to us from a Benghazi FOIA request. The deterioration of the situation has dire consequences on the Iraqi situation are as follows. This creates the ideal atmosphere for Al-Qaeda Iraq to return to its old pockets in Mosul and Ramadi, and will provide a renewed momentum under presumption of unifying the jihad among Sunni Iraq and Syria and the rest of the Sunnis in the Arab world against what it considers one enemy, the dissenters. ISI, which was the then acronym for the Islamic State, could also declare an Islamic State through its union with other terrorist organizations in Iraq and Syria, which will create grave danger in regards to unifying Iraq and the protection of its territory. And the dire consequences, most of which are blacked out, include, and this isn't blacked out, renewing facilitation of terrorist elements from all over the Arab world entering into the Iraqi arena. There you had it. Obama was warned in 2012, 4 years before he left office, that Benghazi was being used to send arms into Libya, and that the situation in Syria was going to lead to increased terrorism. So they were supporting a situation that they were warned was going to lead to increased terrorism with arms. So if you want to know how this all began and how this situation has led to a confrontation potentially between the United States and Russia and Syria, it goes back here to Benghazi, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, who saw, by the way, the destruction of the Gaddafi regime as a capstone to their foreign policy. And that's why they lied about the internet video causing the attack on our consulate in Benghazi, because to admit there were terrorists there would have blown all of this wide open in terms of Libya having become a safe haven for terrorists. Arms shipments were going to terrorists out of Benghazi and Libya to Syria. They didn't want any of that coming out. So that's why they lied about the video. That's why they refused to protect people on the ground there, because to send military there would have been an admission of failure. And it led to this war in Syria that is, when you hear the left complain about refugees, tell them to blame Obama and blame Hillary Clinton and all the needless deaths that have resulted from that war. The U.S. was supporting the terrorists there. Before anyone was lit in on it in the United States, they were doing this secretly with arms shipments out of Benghazi. So think about that the next time you hear Syria mentioned in the media. And as we devote lives, personnel, and munitions, and taxpayer resources to trying to clean up the mess there.